Okay. So we have people still coming in here, but this is the TransVirginia bike route, Grand Depart, May 2021, question and answer Zoom call. So um, we got people still coming in here, and I'll just go over a couple general things, and then I'll just open it up for questions. I think you all got my email, lots of information. So hopefully that was most of your questions and was helpful. So the plan is start in DC at the Lincoln on Saturday at 6 a.m. People usually gather anywhere from like 5:15 on. The sunrise is like 5:50, I think. Um, and that is really an amazing spot to watch the sunrise. So if the clouds are right and all, it's a fun time to just kind of hang out. I there's 42, I think soon 43 people on track leaders, and then there's a bunch of people not on track leaders. So there's going to be a lot of people there. It's a huge space we can spread out, but it's fun just to see all the bikes and setups there too. I'm going to be there about 5:15. I'm not riding the whole route this year, but I'm going to ride out with people. I don't know how far I'll go, then loop back, get my vehicle. And if you have a tracker rental, I sent an email out. So there's only 8 rentals. You can either get it at the start with me, or um, they're in Falls Church right now with Cindy. So I think like maybe someone is close to that. And also Mark is going to be at a hotel in Arlington. He's going to pick them up Friday afternoon, early afternoon, take them. So if you have those options, just let me know if you're one of those people. I think I just only 3 people I've been heard from, but almost everyone has their own tracker. So that kind of keeps it simple too. Um, yeah, what else? You guys have seen the track leaders map. You know how that works. The link to share. I think I can drop it in the chat here. It's in the email. This is what you want to share with everybody to follow along, kind of see how it's going. About half the people have said they're racing this and half not racing. I think we have some really strong riders this year, and the FKT is just a hair over 3 days. And this year it is 16 miles longer, but I do think actually people are going to break that unless the heat's just too much. So that'll be kind of fun to watch. But for all the rest of you, enjoy it. It's a beautiful route to see in the daylight. Um, I designed it around touring more than racing, but people seemed interested in this. So we've been doing this too. And it's fun. It's fun to see. It is a challenging route, though. It's a lot of climbing. Um, I have been advising people to load the valley route if you do feel like you're in over your head with the climbing or the surfaces being too rough. And that route has other, you know, resupply options and other things like that too. So yeah, what else? If you have a rental tracker, just make sure you know how you want to put on your bike. You're also responsible to mail those back into track leaders. They're your responsibility. And you guys know this, but you know, there are risks involved, and just be sure that you know your navigation system, you're confident in that. And I'd say you're also confident in your backup navigation system. There are large stretches of the route with no cell phone service. It mostly in the West Virginia corridor, up in the mountains in the valley. So just be aware with that. This is technically a mass start of individual time trials, technically. So Whitesbury, you know that's closed. You know the GPX tracks that I sent are new that include a detour around Whitesbury. They should be 560, and then like the other shorter, the 520 is actually more like closer to 540 now. It added 16 or 17 miles. So that detour is in the GPX tracks, the new one. So make sure they're the correct distance and do include that detour. There's another bridge out south of Covington, which is about halfway down the state on State Route 616. I did not include that detour in the GPX files, and it's up to anybody who's going for a time to take either the detour or the original route. If you take the detour, you know you'll get through. If you take the original route, you may get through, but you also may have to wade through a stream, or you might get turned around by VDOT and backtrack. So it's up to you. Both are valid, but that's not in the GPX file. So you may want to also have that GPX file in hand, or just know where that is on kind of the route in the cue sheet. And that's, oh, I see there's a question here. Let me just send a link. And that affects both the 520 and the 550 routes, but not the DC Harrisonburg. I sent a link to a collection of routes in the chat. There was a question about planned controlled burns this spring affecting the route. The ones that were around Reddish Knob have already happened, so those should be done. I don't think there's any that we know of that are happening. And when they do them, they do them quickly in one day on the right weather day, and then they're done. So I'll be watching if there's anything there, and I'll text anybody as soon as I hear of anything. But I think it's all done. I think they wanted it all done before the summer heat came, as far as I know. Yeah, once again, your GPX tracks, make sure you check that they're all there. If you're on the eTrex and you output a GPX from Ride with GPS, it's often more than 10,000 track points and will get cut off. The files I emailed are reduced to 10,000, so they should fit on an eTrex. Also,
it's the Zoom call, right? The guy who created the route.
Hello. So we had a report of someone on a Garmin Edge 51030 having an issue with a synced route from Ride with GPS. It was too much data for the unit. It was not able to navigate. So if you are on one of those Garmins and you synced it with like the Garmin IQ app, you might want to also just check that you can load the route. Someone else got around that by chopping it into 3 sections and reducing the total file size. But I think if you load the GPX I sent you into a Garmin Edge, it should be fine because there's fewer track points, but I have not tested that. So just a heads up there. In Damascus, the route ends at the Red Caboose. In Harrisonburg at the courthouse in Court Square. Take a photo and post it. It'd be great to see people finishing. If you scratch or abandon the route and your tracker is going off in a different direction, just shoot me an email and track leaders an email when you're in the place you want to be, just to say that you're no longer on course, and then we can kind of know what's happening and adjust that info. Yeah, what else? Let's see. You guys have seen all this info I think that I've sent. So I talked about the bridge detour, FKTs. Yeah, what questions do you have? I'll just open it up for questions. Sorry to be all technical, but just covering the bases. Go ahead.
And you know what, instead of the detour route, since the ferry's out, if, as I'm riding with 2 other guys, if it went the Washington Old Dominion route instead, we're spending the night at Bears Den the first night. Big difference, not worth it. Any opinion?
On the Washington Old Dominion versus the other route?
Right.
The CNO, I mean, other people ride these routes more than me. I like the CNO because it's gravel and it's more of a continuous, uninterrupted path. And you get a little more Loudoun County gravel because you come down from the north. It is a bit longer and less direct. It will take more time for sure. I mean, Washington Old Dominion is a nice path too. It's a commuter trail mostly. It's paved the whole way. The old route just took the last 12 miles in from Leesburg and then connected to Purcellville. But yeah, I mean, ride your own ride and enjoy it. But I think the CNO is more scenic, more historic for sure. Kind of more characteristic of the route. When you say something, Casey?
Say I ride both of those routes fairly often, and the WNOD, the Washington Old Dominion, there's constant road crossing, so you'll be stopping to cross roads. Tons of kids on bikes and dogs and all that sort of thing. So you've got to be really alert. You're gonna have to go. It's paved, but it's the chip seal on the CNO, or not chip seal, but the crushed stone on the CNO is probably quicker if you're looking for speed. And there's no elevation between the two as far as the WNOD and the CNO. I'm sorry, that's a lie. You're gonna hit some hills, minor hills on the WNOD, especially the Custis Trail if you're catching it on there. But you'll be in the sun for a lot of that point and you'll be dodging people. And that said, there's lots of beer on that section. So if you're stopping at breweries, that's the way to go. But the CNO is, I think, it's gonna be quicker. There's people to worry about, and scenery is much nicer as you follow the river most of the way.
Thanks, Casey.
There's a parallel gravel next to the WNOD, but it rolls a lot more. It's a horse trail next to the WNOD if you want to take that. And there's very few people on that.
Mhm. Good point, for sure. We have a couple questions in the chat. What's the water stream situation like? A lot of you are not from Virginia. It's actually 18 states represented in the group that's signed up on track leaders, plus some others. So we did have a little bit of rain in Harrisonburg on Sunday. I'm 2 hours southwest of DC. It has been relatively dry though, more or less. But I mean, the bigger streams and the creeks have been flowing pretty well. So I do think anything that's marked as water on the route is probably flowing. But you'll get a sense pretty soon if things look dry or not. Just keep in mind when you're high up on the ridges, you're not going to see a lot of water. So if you're on the 550 route, that section between mile like 200 and 300 is probably the most remote, and then on Potts Mountain in the south. So just be sure to load up on water there. But there's a lot of water. There's a lot of streams. If you've ridden out west and places like that, we have a lot of water compared to those places. But I always filter or use tablets. People do what they want, but that can ruin a ride too pretty quick. Yeah, other questions. Best way to attach a tracker to the bag bike, but with a carabiner. Yeah, people's carabiners, volley straps, Velcro, stick it in a jersey pocket. I use a Wahoo Element and an InReach, and my InReach, if it's close to my Wahoo, often creates interference and loses my track. I've heard of a few people having this issue. I've been putting it in my jersey pocket because of that, but yeah. Anyone else can chime in there if they want to. The Bergton Country Store burned to the ground like a month or two ago. I don't think the building is back as far as I know. Yeah, super tragic. It was like the community center for that whole area. So it will come back, I think, but it'll probably be a while. But the store before that is in Matthias, which is on Route 259. That's a reliable store. If you are there really early on Sunday, I think it opens a little bit later, maybe like 9 or 10. If you're really, really racing. Good treated water option near Bergton. Yeah, if you go past Bergton, trying to think, there's a fairgrounds there. There's farms, but if you keep going, you go up German River Road, and there's a nice creek there. You can treat that water. It's not treated. Otherwise, about an hour before that is the Matthias store. You could fill up there or buy water. That's a paved road between there. But yeah, that's the biggest stretch without any services, and it's a hard stretch too. It's slow moving, rough roads. Once you get to Flagpole and Reddish Knob, it gets easier. So if you think it's really, really going hard, just hold out to that point, which is kind of the high point in the north, and then you get a lot of easier, faster rolling roads. Julian, any rules of thumb on when country stores are open? It kind of varies place to place. If you go into the ride with GPS, I think in the waypoints, and also I think in the GPX, I did put notes on the open hours the last time I checked them. Sundays, it's often a little bit reduced for country stores, but not always. Some are open 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. If there's one you really, really are counting on, it's not a bad idea to call them. Just say, hey, I'm biking through probably this day or that day. Are these your hours? With COVID, 2 hours have kind of shifted a little bit from what Google posts. And I didn't call every place this time. It's getting to be kind of a lot of places. So with the different routes, but mostly stuff's been kind of same as Google. Any hike a bike sections beside the one mentioned, the one after Van Buren Furnace before Wolf Gap. That section is about a mile to 2 miles. Some people have ridden a lot of it. Some people have said it's impossible to ride any of it. Kind of depends how wet it is, or like if there's some branches down. But it is mostly, there's like a rough double track up to kind of a clearing and follow the trail marking. And then there's a footpath that goes downhill gently down to the fire road. Other hike a bike sections may depend on you. So that's the only one I've labeled as like the hike a bike. There is a section after Douthit that's kind of more rugged, but it's been fairly rideable if it's not super wet or anything. It's a connection between that Douthit State Park to the next road. There's a descent off of Potts Mountain, which is on 2/3 of the way down. That's on kind of an ATV trail. I've always ridden it. It's all downhill if you're southbound. If you're going northbound, you probably will have some trouble with some of the rough rocks there. What else? The climbs up German River Road, that's after Bergton, and Dunkel Hollow Road after Switzer Lake up to Flagpole Knob. Those are really rough surfaces. They keep getting rougher, a lot rougher than when I first put this all together. And those are often hike-a-bikes for people because of the surface and the grade together. But a lot of people have ridden them. Even people on 38s or 40s have gone up there if they're pretty light and have the right gearing. But a lot of people said I was just faster to get off and walk my bike up this and take a break from the seat. So those are pretty steep. But otherwise, most of it is pretty good surface and pretty good rolling. You're going to want your low gears. Like, it's just a lot of climbing on both of the routes. So yeah. 9-day itinerary, ensure of camping near Pulaski. Any suggestions? Yeah, in the city there's not really good camping. There is the one nice hotel, and then there's kind of a basic hotel as well that has laundry, and some people stay there and had good experience. That's pretty affordable. I don't want to say cheap, but it's affordable. The town's a little bit rough around the edges. I wouldn't probably wild camp there. You may want to, you could probably bivvy off the New River Trail, carefully. If you're not just hanging out there, go a little farther on. The Foster Falls campground, it's called Mill Race Campground at Foster Falls. That's a really nice campground right by the river. There's no showers, but you can jump in the river there, and there's no car access to the sites. So it's great for bikes. I've stayed there a lot. That's kind of the only like campground, legal camping place in that section, unfortunately. Or you can push on to the National Forest after the New River Trail, another 35 miles, but yeah, that's quite a bit farther. So what else? What other questions you guys have?
Hey, that section before Wolf Gap, where that hike-a-bike is, if anybody finds a rolled up sleeping pad, I'll buy you a beer because I dropped one there a couple weeks ago.
Good to know. Yes, you saw it. So how did you find that section when you went through there?
It was definitely hot. It was a little wet when I went through. And it wasn't rideable for me. But it was, I just kept moving and walked through it. I mean, I didn't really have to pick the bike up. I just kind of pushed my bike along the whole way.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, it's been fun to see people on the Facebook group kind of posting and checking stuff out, getting a feel for it. Is there a group chat to send updates to the group during the weekend? We had not done that before. Open to ideas or suggestions. If anyone finds like an issue with the route, like a road closed or something that just doesn't work, definitely send it to me and I'll send it out to people. People are using like the hashtags and stuff to also kind of put posts in the common space. But I hadn't set one up. But if people really want to, we can look at it. Or WhatsApp group. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. People can opt out as well, of course. Easier as well to do a WhatsApp group. I don't know if many people here use WhatsApp, but it's great for that.
I had a track leaders question too. I've never hooked something up to that, but if we're on there, if we just start our tracker, does it automatically pick up on track leaders, or do we have to do anything else to get those two to hook up?
It should just, once you've turned it on and press the right button, it should be good to go. And I send it in the email out there. You have a rental or you have your own? You have an inReach or a spot? Albert. Basically, if your
InReach Mini.
InReach Mini, yeah, if your address is in there correctly, make sure your map is set to public and not private. Actually, that's a good thing to note. If your map it has a password on or it's not public, it won't sync. But yeah, if you've turned it on and tracking is on the InReach, you have to hit tracking. It doesn't just come on by default. But then as long as it's pinging the server, it should populate track leaders. And if you have an issue with track leaders, write track leaders. Like you can write me, but I'll just forward it to track leaders. But there's often issues with track leaders too. Don't be too concerned. It usually gets sorted out, and yeah, group me is another good one. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. What else, guys?
That detour you had mentioned, the new detour is, you had said VDOT might not let you through. Are they like actively working on that bridge?
So, I mean, their website says they are. It's a good question. I don't know. I haven't heard that they finished it. I haven't heard anyone else report that they got turned around or that they got through. People have been riding. I'll put a post on Facebook too and see if any of the guys who recently went through tried it, and send a message out. My guess is if you get there and you want to go through the stream, you'll be fine. Like you'll make it happen, and they won't block you. But I'm just saying that like they could turn you around because technically the road's closed. But probably no one else will be on that road except people that live on either side of those detour, which is a great time to ride that road too, right? Because it's completely cleared. But it did look like it could be shin deep, maybe knee deep water, depending on the level. So you have to think about that too. If that's something you want to do. There's no other stream crossing quite like that on the whole thing that'll be that high. So unless it's flooded, but it shouldn't be. Anyone planning on an FKT? Oh, about that. The ride with GPS routes are the same as the ones that I sent out. Yes. The email files I have not changed or changed the route. So both are reduced to 10,000 points. Yeah, they are. It should be fine. If you have any question though, just check that the total distance on an eTrex is there or on your device. Spencer, do you want to talk about FKT?
Yeah. The only thing is I'm pretty interested in like trying to go for it. It's like what, 3 days, 9 hours, I think is the official time.
I think one.
Yeah. If anybody wants to just reach out and discuss some ideas with me, and I kind of have a rough outline what I want to do. So would love just to, I'm from New England. So I have like no idea of the area. So just if anyone wants to bounce ideas off of, you can reach my Instagram, just like type my name, or on Facebook, for anyone who does Instagram. But yeah, just reach out and would love to discuss some ideas if anyone's going for it.
Sure. That's great. I know like 4 or 5 people are, I think, that I've heard. Is anyone else here going for it that wants to say it?
What is the FTK right now for a male?
I think it's 73 hours. I was going to pull it up here, so which is just an hour over. It's all on the website. For the 550, Give me a second, I'll pull it up. It was Ed Pickup last.
Along a little water here just to get.
73 hours and 40 minutes for the 550 and 82 hours for the Valley route, southbound. And single speed is 94 hours for the 550. And women's FKT for the 550 is 84 hours. So yeah, 73 hours is an hour over 3 days. So you'd be arriving at 7:40 on Tuesday morning, right? That would be the.
You feeling good about it, Spencer?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I feel pretty confident. Kind of obviously it's like an ultra event, right? So like if I crash my bike, that doesn't go well. But I've done a couple 200 plus miles and a 400 mile last weekend. So yeah, I have no idea of the area, right? Like I've done the gap and the CNO in 23 hours, but that's also like super nice crushed gravel. I imagine from reading reports out here, it's not going to be anything like that. So I've ridden in New England a bunch, like Vermont, New Hampshire, all this stuff out there. So hopefully it's kind of like that. But yeah, I'm kind of hoping for a good weekend. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more than the gap and CNO. I mean, it's surface, but it's also the climbing. You're looking at like 45,000 feet. And a lot of that climbing is on gravel too. So yeah, but I think it's going to get broken this year. I think there's a lot of strong riders out there, so it'll be fun. Yeah, we should post about that, try to get some chatter. The heat's probably going to be the biggest challenge, I think, in terms of the conditions. So just keep an eye on that. The last time there was a hurricane that blew through, so I mean, this is probably better than that. The day of solid rain, basically, on the second day. All right. Anything else?
I had one. Is there a way to when I try and access the TransVA website on an iPhone from my phone, it doesn't work. I know Track Leaders works, but does anybody know of another way to access that from an iPhone?
What doesn't work? Is it just not load, or is it not mobile?
It like crashes.
Huh.
Have you tried the Chrome browser on the iPhone?
No, I haven't tried Chrome. I've only used Safari.
Yeah, give the Chrome a try.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, sorry about that. I guess it's probably the images on that header taking a lot of the memory.
Maybe, but that's fine. I'll download Chrome if it works on Chrome on iPhone. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Questions about weather. What are the estimated coldest evenings? Yeah, it's actually a pretty warm weekend to start. Like it's like could be mid to high 80s in the low elevations. Up high it could be 12 to 15 degrees cooler, and you'll see in the valley. There's a couple weather stations up at 4,000 feet. There's one near Mountain Lake that you can find. I can send that, post that to you. But it's going to be warmer than colder, but you never know. Any areas to get messy or wet after it rains? A lot of the gravel drains pretty well. I think the fire roads, the stuff in Rockingham County, like Flagpole Knob, those rough roads I said, probably get the most messy. But yeah, it just kind of depends how much rain too. I would probably not just take a bag liner, Julian, a down jacket, but hey, might be fine. Might be hot. I don't know. Good, Chrome is working. Okay. All right, what else, guys? Any other questions, or we'll see you all Saturday? Is my bike the heaviest in the group?
There's going to be competition for that, guaranteed.
Heaviest at the beginning or at the end?
Not rider not included, right?
Yeah, Julian's on the troll. Yeah, you can ride this on all kinds of bikes, so it just depends how fast you. I think the gearing's more important than the bike weight in a lot of ways too. But yeah, being light is going to help you quite a lot. Yeah, don't underestimate the climbing. Just
Yeah, I got it down to about an 83% ratio, so I'm feeling pretty good. Okay with that.
yeah, and it does get easier. It's that sort of third of the way through point. That's probably the hardest. So once you get over Radish Knob on the 550, it's a lot easier. The valley route's more kind of rolling too, consistently throughout. So, all right, well, yeah, I can close this up. But anyone's not too much bushwhacking, right? No, it shouldn't be any bushwhacking. Shouldn't be. It's starting to grow in a little bit, but it shouldn't be too thick. Most of it's on double track and dirt roads, and yeah, there are ticks out there. People have seen ticks for sure. And think about bear precautions as well. There are bears in the national forest, but never been an issue for anyone yet. So, all right, guys. Bike shops. No, at mile 70, that's in Purcellville. There's Bikes and Coffee. Bikes and Coffee is still Bikes and Coffee. I know they've changed it. Casey, do you know?
It is, but it's changed location. I don't know which location though.
It's
Which-
pretty close to the WNOD, right? Still.
Yes, it's
I
maybe
think I
200,
have.
200 yards off of it. It's next to the AutoZone or AutoZone. What's the other? It's not next to an auto supplies place.
Yeah. There's no other bike shops on route. There's a bike repair guy in Pulaski at the start of the new river trail, but I've never seen him open there when I've gone through. Harrisonburg has 4 bike shops, which is not far off the route, and they'll help you out, I'm sure, like near Stokesville, Reddish Knob area. What else? Everything. There's stuff in Damascus too. That's not going to help you. Yeah. So yeah, be self-sufficient. Well, Roanoke and Blacksburg would have shops as well. And there's people in Clifton Forge that might help you out. If you look up Mike Scales, Ride CFA, he's often kind of he has a bike support business that kind of helps people. He does shuttles and stuff. That's right at Dalford State Park. So. Okay. Last call for questions. I don't mind staying on if people want to chat or anything, but it's the brewery. Which brewery? Damascus? Yep. Yeah, definitely. Well, enjoy the route, guys. It's a lot of fun. I'm not riding at this time. This is the first grand part I'm not riding. I'm actually leading the start of a cross-country bike trip starting next Thursday. So I'm flying
Nice.
into that, the group of mostly university students. So I'm going to be more attentive to the ride because I'm not riding it. So I kind of want to do it this way this time. But
How do we follow you?
I'll send a link out. Yeah, sure, for sure. So. Brewery out of DC, is that the question? Well, I'm not sure which one that is, but all good. All right, guys. Well, I'll see you on Saturday, if not before, and happy planning. And yeah, don't hesitate to be in touch or post it online if you have any questions. So we'll see you soon.
All right, later, guys.
Take care, everyone.
Saturday.
All right, bye. We'll see you.